I just took the DP-700 exam and I was really surprised about a few things, and I want to talk about those in this video, so that you're not thrown off guard when taking this exam. Also, I will give you a very solid strategy for preparing to this exam and one very hot tip that many people tend to overlook. That could give you many extra points in the exam. Stay tuned. Welcome to the video. My name is Alex and on this channel I cover Microsoft Fabric and Azure related topics. And today I want to talk about Microsoft Fabric's data engineering exam, DP-700. I just took the exam today and passed it. However, I was really surprised about few things in this exam. Firstly, I was really surprised that the exam had quite many questions that are not that well covered in the official learning path or not covered there at all. This is something that is good to know if you are preparing for the exam, that is not just enough to read the official learning path or at least the current iteration of it and then take the exam. Even though you would remember word to word every page on the learning path, you are not guaranteed to pass the exam. Later on in this video I give some tips for preparing that you can use to mitigate that issue. The second thing that really surprised me was the overall difficulty of this exam compared to DP-600. In my opinion, the overall difficulty of the questions was harder than in the DP-600 exam that I took in June of 2024. That was before they changed the exam scope a bit. So at the moment I can't really compare it to the current iteration of DP-600 exam, but still I felt that the questions were now a bit harder and required really some in-depth knowledge about Fabric and its different features. I would say that passing this exam without any hands-on knowledge with Fabric is going to be very difficult. I can't go into specific details about the questions in that exam, but I can give you some overall tips for preparing for it and taking the exam. I would start the preparation for this exam from the official learning path that can be found from the DP-700 page. I would go through every module in this learning path and really go through the lessons that we have here and really try to understand what that topic is all about. And with this exam, I would really encourage you to do also the lab work that is available here to get some hands-on knowledge. But, like mentioned before, in my opinion this learning path doesn't cover everything that is in the DP-700 exam, so keep that in mind. But I have already seen that they have been adding some extra pages to this learning path, so it is getting better. But I wouldn't trust my entire preparation for this current iteration of the learning path. After you have gone through this learning path, I would really encourage you to get some more hands-on experience with Fabric if possible, since DP-700 will require you to know these topics very well and know how to apply them in practice. After going through the official learning path and having some hands-on experience with Fabric, I would go to the official study guide for the DP-700 exam. And then I would go through this study guide and check topic by topic that I really know about these things that are required for that exam. And if I would be a bit unsure about some topic, I would go to the Microsoft Learn documentation and try to find some documentation about that topic and read that through. Next, I want to cover a few more things about this exam and preparing for it. But before we do that, I would like you to know that I spent a ton of my free time creating these videos for you. And that's why I'd like you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more Microsoft Fabric content. It doesn't cost you anything and I would highly appreciate that. Also, if you'd like to support the channel with a cup of coffee, you can do so by clicking the Buy Me a Coffee link that can be found in the description. But now, let's continue with the video. Also, if this is the first time you are taking a Microsoft certification exam, you can go to this certification page here, and here we have this exam sandbox. And you can launch this sandbox here. And this will open this kind of an exam sandbox that will show you how does the exam work and what type of questions you need to be answering in the exam. And we can click yes, agree here, and then this will open the exam experience here. And remember, this is just this kind of a mock-up exam, so there are no actual practice questions for this exam here. And here we can see the exam sandbox, and then we can click next. And here we can see that we have to answer this kind of a multiple choice questions. And then we can click next, and here are different types of questions in the exam that we need to answer. And then we can have also these drag and drop questions where we have to drag and drop these things in the exam. And then you have also the possibility to add this review later tab for the questions that you want to review before the exam ends. Also keep in mind that in this exam you might have some sections like case studies that you cannot review at the end, so you have to complete them and move on. And now I want to give a very hot tip for the exam that could give you a ton of points when taking it. And this tip is that one of these buttons here on the sidebar in the actual exam will take you to the Microsoft Learn documentation. It will basically take you to this site, and here you will be able to find answers to questions that you don't know answer to, or verify your answer from the documentation. And here we have something about this accessing Learn during the certification exam. And here we can see that one of those buttons will take you to the Learn documentation, and then you can also have this split screen experience in the exam that you have the documentation open and then you have the questions open. But I would really think about when and how to use this documentation in the exam, since you can very easily have some time management issues if you start to browse through the documentation and try to find answers to every question. So my recommended strategy for you for using the documentation would be that go through the entire exam before using the documentation. So just flag the questions that you are unsure about and put in your best guess. And after you have completed all the questions, then come back to those questions that you are unsure of and then use the documentation to find answers to those. And with using this strategy, you will make sure that you don't run out of time in the exam and then miss answering to some easy questions that you have gotten right without using the documentation. But my overall message is that really think about how to use this documentation and manage your time wisely in the exam. And if you still need more help preparing to the exam, you can check out my playlist where I cover the topics that you need to know before taking the exam. Also in that series we have plenty of hands-on tutorials in Fabric and practice questions to help you test your knowledge. And you can start watching the series here. Now I thank you for watching and see you in the next video.